Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright. Good morning, guys.
Oh, man, we're off to a great start.
Already.
Good morning. The candy shop's open. Jenna, beautiful dress.
Thank
Nick,
you.
nice ensemble there. The hair is getting there, too, bud. It's draft day.
It is draft day. After a great night in the NBA, it's draft day. Should be a fun
So
show.
much to get to today. Yeah, the NFL draft's about 13 and a half hours away. We will break it all down. Big Ben's got a big new deal that he's happy about, but
Nick
there is
Wright,
only
sleeper in the third round.
one place to start the show, and that's in the NBA. KD
Jenna
and the
had
Warriors
to get her for a first and future consideration.
trying to close out the Clippers
Dusty,
in 5. 3.5 left in the fourth. Durant, 2 of his 45 points on the night, ties the game, but this night belonged to Lou Williams. Gets the 3 and 1 right there. Next possession, gets the bucket right here over KD. Next, hits the 2 over Andre Iguodala to put the Clippers up 7:33 on the night for Sweet Lou. Clippers win it 129-121. You know what they do now? They force a Game 6 with the Warriors. Here's Steph Curry on the loss.
I mean, definitely surprised, not what we're used to, but there's no panic at all. We have to realize that, you know, this year is different. There's different challenges, whether it's human nature, whether it's, you know, talent of the competition we're playing, just the way the league's changed with different lineups out there. Like, everything's, you know, different, and you have to adapt. So our message to each other, you know, going into Game 6 is, yeah, we'd have loved to come in and win 4 straight or close it out tonight. Doesn't change what the goal is. The goal is to win 4 games, move on to the next series, and start it all over again.
Shoot, ain't no building. Just go do what we do. Like, build from this game. This game sucked. We lost. Let's go win Friday. Let's win big. Let's freaking win by 30, like we're capable of. But it's basketball. So I'm excited for Friday.
Surprisingly, this was a Warriors team that just couldn't adjust to what the Clippers were bringing last night. How surprising, Nick, was it that this series is now going to Game 6?
This is, to me, almost as shocking as blowing a 31-point lead because of the context of great teams at home close out these series.
Yes. Which was worse?
I think Game 2 loss was worse because you lose DeMarcus, and you have the controversy with KD, and there's all of that. But this was, to me, jarring because they lost in a way we never see the Warriors lose.
The way the Warriors typically lose is they have 2 of their top 3 guys have very cold shooting days, or, as Nick has pointed out through the years, man, if you want to, the Warriors have to allow you by being careless with the basketball.
They got to give the ball away.
Yes.
Since Steve Kerr has taken over as a head coach prior to last night, they were 34-3 and 11-0 in the playoffs when they had single-digit turnovers. Now, that doesn't speak to the fact that in 5 years, there had only been 37 games they had single-digit turnovers. Last night, they had 8 turnovers. Durant had 45 points. They're at home in the playoffs to close out a series, to get rest. Going up against, they knew the Rockets had won. The Rockets had already closed out their series against a tougher opponent in 5. They lost. They lost when they had 8 turnovers. They lost when they took a lead late. The Clippers hit them with everything they could in that third quarter. And then the Warriors clawed back, and it's 118-117 with a few minutes left. And the Clippers are the team that go on a 12-3 run to finish the game. The Clippers are the team that have the unguardable player in Lou Williams. This is incredibly surprising. Since Kevin Durant's been there, this is only the 2nd series they've played that will go to a 6th game.
Yeah.
They had all been sweeps or gentlemen sweeps, except for the Rockets Western Conference Finals series last year. This team doesn't lose home playoff games until this year. See, prior to this year, here are their home playoff losses. 3 in the finals to Cleveland over the 4 years they played them. 1 to Memphis, their first title year. A home loss to OKC with KD when OKC en route to going up 3-1, and a home loss to the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals last year. They had 6 total home playoff losses under Steve Kerr. They've had 2 in this series to the Clippers.
Here's why I'm not surprised. Because this series has gone just the way the regular season has, right? Some games they play with intensity, some games they don't. Some games they play defense, some games they don't. Because guess what? When the playoffs come, we'll flip a switch, we'll be the Warriors, and we're going to cruise on through. Well, last night, one team played with a lot more intensity. Steph Curry said after the game, hey, at times we felt like we were just throwing up shots, that we were just going to end up on top. And they didn't. And I don't know, see, it just felt like one team came out to play last night.
We see this story an awful lot, but typically the veteran team, the team that's the most talented, and that's why typically in the NBA, the best team wins, because you're playing a series of 7 games. It's hard to be able to upset a team 4 times. But to your point, yes, this is what they've seen during the regular season, and those home losses, 2 of them, they mirror what they did during the regular season. This is the worst regular season that they've had at Oracle and the last season at Oracle. Now, the 31-point comeback, I mean, that to me, that kept the Clippers alive.
Of course.
You know, to me, this was about respect, and the Warriors didn't have a lot of respect for the Clippers. They didn't play defense the way they did the 2 games in Los Angeles. And now, man, they're in for a dogfight. I mean, Lou Williams' ability to be able to make shots, especially late in the games. I mean, one-legged, bank shots, 3-pointers, driving in the lane, making assists for other players. And you got to give a lot of credit to Doc Rivers, because you're talking about in this 1-8 matchup, he has changed a couple times as far as how he's going to attack the Warriors. And, man, the Warriors don't have an answer defensively. Nick, we were talking this morning, and you talk about, and it's a good point, this is exactly what they did during the regular season. But also, this is a Warriors team, Nick, that you point out, that's not as good, and they don't have that trump card being their defense to be able to go to.
This is the first time in the 5-year run that they've been on where they don't have a super elite defense. They, at the end of the year, finally ticked into the top 10, where they finished 10th ranked in the NBA in defense, and that matters because it's almost impossible over the last 30 years in the NBA to win a title without a top 10 defense. But how did they lose at home? Oh, they allowed 135, and then they allowed 129. And you can't blame Boogie now. The game where they allowed 135, he got hurt immediately. He's obviously gone. They're supposed to be a worse offense, but a better defensive team. Their problem wasn't their offense. They scored 121 points last night. They had a 31-point quarter and a 41-point quarter. Their problem was they could not get stops. There are 2 parts of this Clippers series, because I think Warriors obviously are still going to advance. But there's 2 things, see, that should be concerning for them because they could be systemic. One is the defense, and the other is Steph Curry, while he was brilliant in Game 1, the physical play and the clutching and grabbing and the things people do to him off the ball, he just can't get his shots. Last night you look at it, you're like, okay, he was 7 of 15. He had 24 points on his 15 shots. But he couldn't get to his spots. He couldn't get his shots. And this team is different when Steph is going off compared to when KD's going off, as he did last night.
There's a couple things, too, that I'd like to look at. And I believe that one thing, their defense, you pointed that out, that's what has made them special over this run. But it's also been the other players. They've either had people like Draymond that were difference maker, and Draymond is not the player, hadn't played in this series. In last night's game, he was on the verge of getting thrown out after getting the charge called with Patrick Beverly. But if you look at him, look at Iguodala, if you look at Sean Livingston, collectively between the 3 of them, how many points they scored? Draymond scores 7. Iggy's what scores? 3?
Iggy scores 3 on 7 shots.
Oh, okay. And Livingston scores
2 on 2 shots.
Okay, so that's not the productivity. Now, I know you're saying that, oh, man, they're not having a problem scoring the basketball. But if these guys were making offensive contributions, it'd make the game a lot more easy, and they'd have more energy on the defensive end because the defense has been a big problem for them.
Do you think the Warriors should be concerned that the Rockets are now home resting and they've got more work to do?
Just like I said, when the Rockets, I thought, squandered the opportunity to sweep the Jazz, you leave yourself open to another game where a guy can tweak an ankle, a guy can hurt a hamstring, where you get less rest. The Rockets got out last night unscathed. I know we'll talk about it later. They just got 2 days fewer rest. The Warriors now have another 48 minutes of basketball, at least, assuming they win Game 6, where, man, Montrezl Harrell is still throwing those elbows. Patrick Beverly is still playing defense and rebounding the way he does. Like, you are going to have less rest. You do have another game where someone could tweak an ankle or bang a knee, and you have more time where the Rockets get to say, oh, so this is how they're guarding Steph. This is what they're allowing them to do. It's not good.
Right.
They want to be done, and they were 15-point favorites last night. If you bet $100 on the Clippers last night to win, you won $1,000. They were 10-1 last night, and they controlled the game and won it.
Yeah, I think the Warriors will get refocused. Clay talked about it and basically gave us a little insight, basically told us the truth. We were looking ahead, especially myself. He blamed a lot of it on himself in even talking about the Rocket series. He said that the Rockets are chomping at the bit to get to us. They would love to have another chance at us. So now watch them come back to Los Angeles, be able to get focused. But those couple extra days of preparation, they can make a big difference in round 2.
All right, let's take a break. The other big story today, draft day. Are the Arizona Cardinals having doubts about drafting Kyler Murray? That's next on FS1. You can always are you throwing something at me?
That's why you curled your hair. It's draft day.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Finally, you figured it out. Hey, you can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel, Sirius XM. We're back right after this.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. While other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees, so you can trade stocks and keep all your profits. Plus, there is no account minimum deposit needed to get started, so you can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. View easy-to-understand charts and market data, and place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You can also view stock collections such as 100 most popular. With Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio. Discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Robinhood is giving listeners of First Things First a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help build your portfolio design. Sign up at first.robinhood.com.
Welcome back. All right, we'll get to Kyler Murray in just a second, but first, Jazz, Rockets, Ricky Rubio gets fancy with the reverse lay-in.
Oh, yeah, he used the rim as a little protection right here, put a little English on it.
Ricky Rubio had some really nice dribbling moves in this game that were followed up by some really bad jump shots. He had a 3 in the corner to take the lead when the Rockets were playing poorly at the very end, and he just airmailed it. Peja Stojakovic style, 3 in the corner, air ball.
Same game, Clint Capella backing down the defender, finishes strong at the rim.
So Clint had a virus and some bacterial infection the previous 2 games. Was not playing well, was really under the weather in Game 4. Part of the reason the Rockets lost, he looked back to himself last night.
And also those couple extra days of rest, he's got 2 different viruses, be able to get those out of his body. Yeah, yucky, Jenna.
Yucky, yucky. Clippers, Warriors, Lou Williams putting KD on skates before dropping the no-look dime to Trez.
Oh, he went up and down the roster now. He had them all on skates. He made every kind of shot conceivable, every pass. Lou Williams, he's a special, special basketball player.
Wow.
Nick, does he not have the best contract in the NBA?
Oh, my God. $8 million. The next 3 years, you got him for $24 million. $8 million a year for this guy. Instant offense, 2-time sixth man of the year.
So he doesn't have the best.
Yes, he does. Well, but not best for him.
The Clippers have the best contract.
Yes.
More from Montrez, this time erasing Kevon Looney's dunk attempt.
Now, Montrez, him and Lou Williams are both teammates in their summer league in Atlanta. Both of them, man, were huge in last night's game. This series is not where it's at if they don't play the way that they play. Coming off the bench, one scoring 30, the other one scoring 24. Montrez get 24.
The Inside the NBA guys pointed out, Trez plays like he's 7 feet tall. He barely 6'7".
Yeah.
Just energy, athleticism, and ferocity from him.
All right, big doings in Nashville tonight, side of the NFL draft. All eyes on the Cardinals to see what they'll do with that top pick. Will it be Kyler Murray as predicted? Well, according to reports, it will be, unless they're blown away by a trade offer. But the odds of Murray going #1 have dropped significantly in the last week. See, what should the Cardinals do with that #1 pick?
I believe it's really important that Kingsbury can put the type of exciting offense because, I mean, if the Cardinals had no patience with their last coach, I mean, I would say it's unrealistic that they'd fire him after a season, But to say that he's going to be 3 seasons in the league, and when you are coming from college football, it's important that your fan base sees why they hired you. If they don't have some type of cutting-edge offense, some type of exciting offense, people are going to be questioned because almost every college coach that's come to the NFL has been battered, bruised, and sent back to college football.
And most of them weren't under 500 college football coaches, the way Cliff Kingsbury is.
Absolutely. So I believe it's important to be able to run a system that looks exciting, has a lot of guys involved, and better look a lot like college football, because we have seen Kansas City have a version of it. We've seen the Rams have a version. But I believe it's very important for Kingsbury. And if he's going to do that, I don't think that he believes he can do that with Josh Rosen. That's why you have to go for Kyler and get your guy your first year as a head coach in the NFL.
I'd be shocked if they don't take Kyler Murray. And while I have been hesitant to buy in fully on Kyler Murray, I hope he succeeds, because I loved watching him in college, and I would like the idea that we don't simply cross out moving forward quarterbacks that are under 5'11", 5'10". That guys, if they are special enough. I was reading an article about him this morning, and I thought they summed it up beautifully, which is he is a great passer on the run, but if he never ran, he would be a great passer in the pocket. Sometimes we get it
And
twisted.
that's the biggest difference between most guys. When they're smaller, they don't have the arm talent, meaning they are not Drew Brees. They are not Russell Wilson. These guys are special throwers of the ball. And as you're coming up the ranks, if you're undersized, a coaching staff is going to utilize your quickness, your athletic ability. So most of the guys packaged in that 5'9", 5'10" area, their legs are a lot better than their arm. And Kyler is the most special of the throwers at that height.
And, I mean, he broke Baker Mayfield's efficiency records in college. The only reason he's not the single-season all-time leader is because Tua this year also broke everybody's efficiency records. He was a spectacular college player, and if the size doesn't kill him in the pros, I believe, will be a very good pro. I still wouldn't take him number one if I'm the Cardinals. If I'm the Raiders and I can trade up to number one, I'd take him. If I'm the Raiders and I can give you 4 and 27 and something else, I would take him. If I'm the Cardinals, I had, according to the advanced metrics, our friend Warren Sharp, the worst pass-blocking offensive line in football last year.
Yes.
The worst running attack in football last year, which probably has to do with the lack of offensive linemen. So how did Josh Rosen look last year? Terrible.
Couldn't get a good read,
How
though.
would Sam Darnold have looked? How would any of the rookie quarterbacks have looked?
That's fair.
How will Kyler look next year when now he's more mobile than Rosen, obviously, way more mobile, but he's also even more slight of frame. So if I'm Arizona, I take this opportunity to restock my team. I think the Raiders would give you 4 and 27 and something else either next year or later in this year's draft. And I try to get either the best offensive lineman, one of those stud defenders that you know is going to be there at 4.
Oh, my goodness,
If
yes.
you're there at 4, Josh Allen, Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, one of them is available because Kyler would be going number 1 to Oakland. So it's not what I would do. But C's point, which is, he said this off the air, yeah, but Nick, you also wouldn't have hired Cliff Kingsbury. They've already done that. Once you've already done that, I understand
You got to support him.
You're going to continue with the decision flow. And the decision flow for them has been hire Cliff Kingsbury so he can pick his quarterback and bring an air raid-ish offense to the NFL. That's why I would be very surprised, despite the dropping odds, if Kyler isn't the number 1 pick.
But if he isn't the number 1 pick, could you see him plummet in the draft? Where do you think he would go?
This is the thing. I don't think he will plummet. I think that he's generated enough interest, and his film is so solid. People are excited about the brand of football he can potentially play. I think seeing Lamar Jackson be successful last year in Baltimore, a version of him. Kyler, I believe, is a better football player, and his skills transfer better because he's such a better thrower of the football. But no, I don't see him plummeting down. No, if you look at the draft, let's look at the Raiders at number 4. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Buccaneers, Jameis is in the last year. Bruce Arians is there. He's got Jameis for 1 year. They could take him. The Giants at number 6. Gettleman, I don't believe, even though they have 2 of the top 16 picks. He's in the big people, so I don't see him taking them. But after that, the Bengals at 11, the Dolphins at 13, Washington, if they don't get their guy at
I would even
15.
say the Broncos at 10. I know the Broncos just brought in Joe Flacco. Well, John Elway, no, never mind. Way too small for the Broncos. My apologies.
Yes, yeah, you got to be 6'11".
Right, he's about a foot too short to play for the Broncos. I know the Jags think we've got a better quarterback now than Blake Bortles, but teams that you think aren't in the market for a quarterback, if a guy that they thought was going to go number 1 is all of a sudden available to them, they could change their philosophy. So I don't think he'll plummet. I think there are certain teams that, because of his size, would be weary of spending a first-round pick on him or spending any pick on him if they believe he's simply too small. But I don't think there's any scenario where Kyler is not taken in the top half of the first round.
Isn't this normal? Like a couple hours before the draft, you start hearing weird stories. Oh, now suddenly we don't want him. We do. Guys go up and down the draft. I mean, this is all part of what happens on draft day.
It is part of it. They're in the best position to be able to say, you know something, we have not made up our mind. I thought they should have gave Josh Rosen a little more love as if we are going to keep him. And I do believe it's on the board right now that Steve Keim and the Bidwell, Steve Keim is their general manager there, that they could decide to go with Josh Rosen, because if they do decide to go with Josh Rosen, trade back in the draft, I believe that they're going to generate some, let's be patient. Let's watch this. Kyler, I believe wherever he goes, and especially if he's the first pick, there is tremendous pressure on him and that coaching staff to see the type of results that we saw in Baker Mayfield last year.
The reason I think Kyler should not be nervous today is if the Cardinals stay at 1, it's to take him. And if a team trades with them to move to 1, it's to take him. The scenario of the Cardinals staying at 1 so they can draft one of these defensive players and not help Josh Rosen out, not get an offensive lineman in the first round somewhere, I just don't. That, to me, is the least likely scenario. If the Cardinals stay there, it's because they want him. And if a team trades with him, it's because they want him. Kyler, I believe, is going number 1 through some method this evening. We just don't quite know to whom.
All right, let's take a break. Get back to some basketball. On the other side are the Rockets, primed to upset the Warriors. We'll talk about that next on First Things First. The 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup kicks off this June. All eyes will be on Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, and the U.S. women's national team as the defending champions head to France looking to win an historic 4th World Cup. All the matches will be live on Fox and FS1.
Can't wait.
Time now for Say What? Lou Williams went off last night against the Warriors, dropping 33 points and 10 assists. Steve Kerr was asked about his team's identity after letting the Clippers score 129 points. Say what?
What's the identity of our club? Back-to-back champions?
I'm saying for this particular season.
I don't know. Like, we're really good. I mean, we're hanging banners. What's our identity? We play fast. We play defense. I don't know. Maybe we should do an instructional video later, and we'll send it to you.
All right, listen, Steve Kerr is one of the best human beings in the NBA. I love him. But that was a totally fair question. And what you could see there is don't really have an answer right now.
No.
What is the 2019 Warriors' identity? The hanging banners, 2-time defending champs, that's not this year's team identity.
No. Oh, no. They have an identity. Jenna Wolfe called it and shocked me and you before when she talked about, isn't this what they did during the regular season?
Up and down.
Inconsistent, defense, spotty, not elite anymore. And is Kevin Durant thinking about going somewhere else compared to, we didn't have that the last couple years.
And not a dominant home team anymore. There's so many things that were their identity aren't their identity. Now, they're still the favorites to win the title, and that's probably why Steve Kerr is nonplussed by that question. But it is hard to say exactly what the Warriors are right now, other than a collection of enormous, immense talent that sometimes flips the switch and sometimes tries to and
Nick,
cannot.
you said one path to be able to beat the Warriors is injury. That's already occurred. One path to be able to beat the Warriors, you got to be able to beat them at home. Okay, the Clippers, and during the regular season, plenty of teams have shown that. So this is a different team.
Steve Kerr's frustrated. You could hear it in his voice. Time now for stories to start your morning. The NFL Draft is 13 hours away, and according to Pro Football Focus, the top 3 prospects, Kyler Murray, Nicky Bosa and Alabama defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. See, who is the best player available in the draft?
Ooh, that's. This is the thing. I'm going to take Kyler off the board because the value of a quarterback is not fair comparing with the rush defensive end and an interior player in Quinnen Williams. All these players are very special, but ever since the first time I've seen him play, and that I think was when he was in the 6th grade, and that is Nick Bosa. He has dominated at every level. When he was at Little League, he came to St. Thomas Aquinas. We coached him there. On to Ohio State. We saw what he did there. And his bloodline, his dad was a first-round pick. His brother was a top 5 pick. And he's going to be a top 5 pick. I've had money, which I got a little bit. It'd be betting on him.
Which I do.
I'm going to take DK Metcalf. No, I'm just saying that mess with Chris Carter, the guy that looks like he should be.
Oh, yeah, the man with the tight hips.
Right, exactly. The superhuman wide receiver. Quinnen Williams is my answer. Quinnen Williams, I don't know if you can have the impact that an edge rusher can have as an interior defensive lineman, but the disruption he caused for the University of Alabama. And what I saw from him, people were sending out some video of him yesterday on Twitter, snap 88 of a game, his burst, his relentlessness. Quinnen Williams, I think, will be
young, too.
First, yes. 21, just turned 21 years old.
Really good kid.
Seems
really
like it.
nice kid.
With a really good story.
His mom passed away. Yeah. If the Cardinals take Kyler, Josh Rosen is likely on the move. According to reports, the Giants, Dolphins, and the Patriots are all in the mix for the second-year quarterback if Arizona decides to trade him. Nick, what's the best landing spot for Josh Rosen?
Let's get him right here. New York City.
We're in the studio?
No, well, yeah, I'd love that too.
Yeah, he gets sacked.
You could make fun of his ears.
He gets sacked. Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Don't talk too loud. He can hear you.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk as loud as I want because I'm saying nice things about him, unlike you. I think here in New York, if the Giants had taken Rosen at 2 last year, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. In fact, I said I thought they should take him at 2 last year. If they can get him for the 37th pick, having taken Saquon at 2 last year, now you've got a plan, so I say the New York Giants.
Watch this Josh Rosen story. There's another story in NFL history I'll be able to share, but it was between 2 leagues. Tampa Bay Bandits, they held the rights to a guy named Steve Young. They end up losing him to the San Francisco 49ers. Steve went from, like, hell to heaven, all right? That's what Josh Rosen leaves Arizona, end up in New England. Let Belichick work with him. He's got the perfect price. He's not in a rush to put him into the lineup. Like, if we want to see this kid grow, I look for good things to happen if they decide to trade him. See, Nick? You like that?
That was nice of you. There you go.
Moving on to the Clippers. They beat the Warriors 129-121 last night. That forces a Game 6. Lou Williams led the way for the Clippers with 33 points. Nick, how impressive were Sweet Lou and the Clippers?
Well, that bench crew was outstanding as it has been. You could argue that the Clippers' 2 best players are bench guys, in Trez and Lou Williams.
Yes.
And the way they can just punch the Warriors when the Warriors go to their bench. But to me, the most impressive part was not building a 15-point lead in the 3rd quarter. But when they lost the lead with 2.5 minutes left, not falling apart and then punching back 12-3 run to finish the game and force a very rare Game 6 for these Golden State Warriors.
I got to give a lot of credit to Doc Rivers. And this not only for this game, but this goes back to the trade deadline. Everyone is just, man, the Clippers, man, they getting ready to tank it.
Yep.
They're done.
Trade away their best player.
They end up being the 8th seed in the playoffs, and now they're taking the 2-time world champ, man, giving them everything they want. Lou Williams is a special story. Man, if you like basketball, if you like hooping, you'll like Lou Williams.
And finally, it wasn't the prettiest of wins, but the Rockets managed to finish off the Jazz last night, 100-93. They now await the winners of the Warriors-Clippers series, the one that's still going on after last night's Clippers win. According to Clint Capella, it's clear who the Rockets want to face.
What do you think about the possibility of facing the Warriors in the next round, facing them again?
Yeah, that's what I want. I want to face them. And
oh man, you're gonna be all over Bleacher Report, man.
No, man.
It's cool though. It's what it is.
No, I'm gonna get ready for that. We've been working on it last year. We've been working on it all year long.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens, and if they come out of it, it's going to be a great series. And we said all year, just run it back. Well, okay, okay. I guess we're going to run it back. You know how good they are. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right, Nick, what do you think? Is this the year the Rockets finally do it? They finally take down the Warriors?
And it should be noted, the Rockets played before the Warriors last night. So they're holding those press conferences right when the Warriors game's going on, assuming, like we're all assuming, that they're going to wrap that series up because Clint's lying. Now that the Warriors lost that game, you know who the Rockets are hoping to face? The Clippers. They're hoping that the Warriors blow a 3-1 lead and they get the Clippers, but they're not going to. They'll get the Warriors. Is this the year they take them down? I think they're the best position to do it this season. And I know last year they had home court advantage and they don't this year, but the Warriors no longer seem impenetrable at home. The Rockets also catching them around earlier than the Western Conference Finals, given the way Harden has worn down in playoffs in years past and given Chris Paul's age, I think that is beneficial to them. And the Rockets are coming off a series of superb defense. Now, their offense is going to go as James Harden goes and as the three-point shooting goes. And Harden wasn't great in this Jazz series. They had a really smart defensive game plan.
They did.
Built around slowing him down. But they have a guy that the Warriors don't have in Rudy Gobert. They can funnel Harden in, and have one of the best rim protectors in the world waiting for him. The Warriors don't have that. So you're asking me, will I pick the Rockets to beat the Warriors? I don't know. Let me see the Warriors game 6 before I answer that question. But I think this Rockets team is better than last year's Rockets team, and I think this Warriors team is not quite as good or united as last year's Warriors team, so I do think they're best positioned to do it this season.
See, don't you want to see Harden put together one of those regular season games before you decide who's the better? I mean, is this Harden wearing down, or is this typical Harden in the playoffs?
Well, this is the thing. In the playoffs, it's far more physical, and you have to you're facing the best players and the best coaching. You have to give Quinn Snyder and their philosophy what they were trying to do, because it was a combination of a number of different ways to defend Harden during the regular season. No one had done what Utah had did in the playoffs. And you're seeing them every 2 or 3 nights. So you're making adjustments to that. So I don't think Harden being dominant has anything to do with with grading what kind of team they are, because when he's not dominant, it speaks to they're a better team. They can win without him being dominant. Their defense is better than it was last year. And the roles that the guys have played on Houston's team, I think, are well defined. I think when you get into pressure situations, they'll know what to do. The Warriors aren't as good. I don't know if Houston is better than they were last year. But let me tell you what they had last year. They had 2 opportunities to be able to shut out. They had 2 closeout games, not one. They had 2 closeout games. If the Warriors are able to advance to the second round, we're starting from 0. They ain't got no wins. They had 3. They only had to get 1 more win. So to say, oh, they're in better position now, let me take you back, 52 weeks or so. And they had a great opportunity last year.
Just one real quick note on Harden in this series. His three-point average was the same as the regular season, around 35%. He was 37% on 2s, which is about 10% lower than his regular season average. That's the Rudy Gobert factor. I don't think this was, bad playoff Harden showing up. I think it is the Jazz identity was defense. Rudy Gobert, they had a good game plan. I don't know the Warriors can execute that same game plan. And the Rockets' defense was as good as it had been all year long in these 5 games against Utah.
All right, let's get back to the NFL draft tonight. And as is seemingly always the case, days, even hours before the draft, stocks rise and fall for no reason at all. Former Duke quarterback Daniel Jones is reportedly skyrocketing up draft boards. Reportedly, the Giants love him and will select him with the 6th overall pick. See, would this be a good move for the New York Giants?
Well, this is the thing about the Giants. The Giants, they realize they have to get a quarterback. Daniel Jones, who is he? And he is a guy that's in a system, and he's just one of the best teachers of football in David Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe is the one who taught Peyton Manning a lot of the things. He is Peyton Manning's personal quarterback coach, spends a lot of time with him. So he runs a system that is NFL friendly, has a lot of NFL type level throws, secondary, underneath, trying to pull a guy over the top. So he's been reading defenses. I believe he's very, very smart. He has a lot of the things that you want. There's a chart for Bill Parcells. There's certain things that he wants in a quarterback. Start a certain number of games, completions, how many wins
Is he a senior? Did he graduate? 3-year starter, win 30 games, or just start 30 games. He checks all of them except for his touchdown interception ratio. So he checks all the Parcells boxes.
Right. Now, they throw the ball in college football a lot more. So some of Parcells' things, I believe, are very, very effective. But I believe that right now we're going to get guys like Kyler, like Haskins, where they only played 1 year, and they still can be stars. So they won't ever be able to fill out that 100%. But I believe that he checks a lot of the boxes, and I believe that his overall football IQ, how he's been taught football, even though it's been at Duke, you know, I believe that the NFL respects it, and that's what they've seen in the workouts, and that's why he's rising up the charts.
The Giants need a quarterback, and if they think this kid's the best quarterback, then of course they should take him at 6 and not wait till 17. But if they think this kid's the best quarterback, they watch different college football than I did. Here's what Daniel Jones has going for him. He's 6'5", he's 220 pounds, and he has the same coach as Peyton Manning.
And Eli, by the way, at Ole Miss.
Sure.
They're the same coach with Eli at Ole Miss.
To me, that's where it ends. He was great in that bowl game against that football juggernaut known as Temple. Prior to that, his last year of college football, he had thrown for 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and completed 59% of his passes. To me, he is this year's Josh Allen, which is a guy that while I'm watching him, or Josh Allen, you didn't watch much at Wyoming, while you watch clips of him or read, you're like, wait, what? Some people think he's the best guy. SB Nation's Bill Connolly did a great write-up of all 22 draftable quarterbacks. And it's according to all the advanced metrics, right? So you're talking about their efficiency, their yards per attempt, their adjusted net yards per attempt, their rating, things like that. 22 quarterbacks. Daniel Jones was 22nd in efficiency, 22nd in yards per attempt, 21st in adjusted net yards per attempt, and 20th in rating. In the last decade, we have not seen a single college football quarterback improve their college yards per attempt in the pros. They all go down because they're inflated. Kyler's is 11.5. Haskins is 9. No one in the NFL is much over 8. For his career, is 6.4. Like, there is no example of this guy's college career turning into a star. So I don't get it. There's inexact science, and people are wrong on quarterbacks, but based on what he did at Duke, there's no precedent for this guy being a first-round pick, much less the 6th pick to the Giants.
David Cutcliffe, who was both Peyton and Eli's coach, also said Daniel Jones thinks like Peyton and mentally tough like Eli. Didn't say anything about his throwing, but when you get compared to guys like those, I could understand why people would think, well, this guy must have something.
Yeah, this is the thing, too. Every draft is a prospect. And a lot of NFL scouts and their coaching staff believe, if I get this kid, I can add something to it. Does he have some of the tangibles? Arm strength. Yes. Is he a big guy? Yes. Is he smart? Yes. Cutcliffe also said he's a great leader. So in doing this and trying to evaluate, there is no science to it. But does he have certain traits? And I believe that they have witnessed those traits, and that's why he has gone up the board. A lot of these teams believe in what they have in the coaching room to build. The coaching is superior in the NFL. And they believe that they can get better football, especially when a quarterback like Daniel Jones, that he's playing with guys who aren't NFL players. So if this guy can work with guys who aren't NFL players, what if we do get him some elite talent, add a tight end, some speed outside? Because football concept-wise, we like what we see. We like his overall athletic ability. Bring him to the NFL. All the quarterbacks are going to be overvalued.
Of course.
Because of the need for them.
And I understand you're explaining the team's thought process, and I totally respect and appreciate that. But all those comments to me, you know what they remind me of? The Josh Allen conversation last year. Maybe Josh Allen turned out to be a great pro and all look like a dope. But it was, we like his traits. Man, he didn't have great teammates. We think we can build with him. Maybe I am over.
Well, this is the thing, Nick. Most kids aren't going to have a great college career. So you have to try to look for some attributes that have turned people into good players. And also, you have to believe once you get them into your building. Because a lot of people don't like to admit it. The coaching is superior. I mean, it's so superior that you instantly get better. After the culture shock, the speed of it, the things you're going to learn. So a lot of times, well, what am I going to look for? Let me look for some traits that turn into good football players.
My biggest issue on this, though, for the Giants specifically at 6 is ostensibly you'd be taking him over Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins checks all the boxes you're talking about with Daniel Jones, and he had the nice added benefit of being a really good college football player.
Don't get this mixed up. Chris Carter is not saying take
Correct.
Daniel Jones.
I
I'm
know.
representing the Giants.
No, you're talking about the idea, if it happens, why it would. That it wouldn't be them throwing a dart. They'd have a thought process behind it. I just think they'd be nuts to do it.
All right, coming up, could Kyler Murray fall down the board if he doesn't go number 1? That's next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, Yahoo senior writer Vincent Goodwill is here.
What up, Vinny?
Morning.
Who the Lions taking, bro? Come on now.
A corpse. Is there the Lions?
That was such a great answer.
How many people do we know from Detroit that have just given up on their football team?
Deontay,
our producer, are you a Lions fan or you gave up on them?
When Barry Sanders quit the Lions, I quit them.
Everybody just be quitting the Lions. Maybe that's why they're bad.
No, look, they have undying loyalty in that city. I'm just off of
But
that.
once you leave the city, you're done. I got you. Okay.
Vinny, a year after LeBron James signed with the Lakers, boy, this team's a mess. No coach, no president, no firm plan in place. Multiple reports surfaced yesterday about LeBron being unhappy with the team, that he felt the organization had a lot to do in order to repair the relationship with him. However, LeBron took to the gram denying the report, saying, quote, "That's not true. That's not true at all." Vincent, are you buying that all is okay between the LeBron and the Lakers? Because we haven't heard much from LeBron, and you would have to imagine he came here in large part to a guy who's no longer with the Lakers.
All is well with LeBron? No drama? Is that what you're trying to suggest to me? Absolutely not. Come on now. Like, think about it. One thing that we know about LeBron, even if we don't know how he feels precisely about this, we know that he thrives off of leverage, and he thrives off of pressure. Putting pressure on organizations to bring in players to help him win, the threat of him leaving, and he has none of that. He signed a long-term deal with no opt-outs. He's been operating off of one-year deals ever since he left Miami, and that's resulted in Dan Gilbert doing everything LeBron wanted and needed to field a contender, with the exception of trading Kyrie Irving, which was basically out of his hands.
And that was when the 1 year Dan Gilbert didn't do what LeBron wanted, was the 1 year LeBron couldn't leave, because he signed the extra year after they won the title, and so that he removed some of his leverage.
So I don't see how, I don't care LeBron playing for the Lakers, the flagship franchise of the league, all that other type of stuff. That type of stuff matters, but only but so much, because LeBron is 34, going on 35, and he sees his career winding down without no Anthony Davis. Wait, they didn't take De'Aaron Fox, they took Lonzo Ball. You know, they haven't done a lot of the things that he expected this flagship franchise, that is not the Cleveland Cavaliers, that is not in Ohio, to be able to attract in the name of urgency, and they haven't operated that way.
I don't think, Vince, that he expected the same dysfunction that he saw the last 4 years. Not from a general manager standpoint.
That he saw in Cleveland.
Because he had that. We know him and Dan Gilbert do not see eye to eye. They are not friends. But LeBron had a huge asset in the front office before Dan Gilbert decided to get rid of him. Right. And then after that, it was always chaos around, even though they've been winning. Going to finals, there's been chaos around it. And I know when LeBron, when he decided to choose the Lakers compared to these other franchises, he didn't think that he was going to be involved in chaos, especially immediately. Magic Johnson quitting, that's not something LeBron James would have wanted. Why else besides the logo, why else would he go to L.A.? And LeBron's going to be successful in Los Angeles off the court. But a lot of LeBron's fame going forward is about winning a championship, and it's with the Lakers. So there is no way that LeBron can be happy right now sitting in real time, NBA playoffs going on, him not being there. Magic Johnson recently quit. Jenny Buss sitting down with her girlfriend, who ended up hiring her husband back to the staff, and they're interviewing potential head coaches. That's what LeBron signed up for.
And what was the news Rick Bucher had yesterday on FS1? That Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka were sending emails bad-mouthing Magic Johnson that Magic was accidentally copied on?
Wow.
Is that, Jenna, you love the show The Office. I feel like that had to have been a plot line from The Office. And so, is there dysfunction? Yeah. Is there uncertainty? Yeah. Right now, could this thing go totally sideways to where you said LeBron's, so much of his fame, legacy's built around contending and winning another championship? Man, LeBron said it on his TV show. the thing our group has always done is we keep the main thing the main thing. Doesn't matter what Space Jam, doesn't matter the new game show he's got going on. It's all of it's possible because of who he is as a basketball player. Here's why I do believe what he said in that Instagram video to a degree. He didn't go to the Lakers because of Luke Walton, and I think he believes that they are going to hire Ty Lue. That's a positive. Also, whether he should be or not, I know that LeBron is very confident that next year there will be an all-star next to him, whether that all-star be Anthony Davis or one of these free agents. So the two most important pieces this offseason, he believes, maybe foolhardily, but believes are going to come into place.
Well, he has no control over the Anthony Davis thing. He can have much confidence. He can go to Lonzo Ball. He can speak it into existence.
No, I'm not
but
saying
there are other people that have a role in where AD decides to end up.
Oh, absolutely right. I'm not saying he's confident that the all-star next to him will be Anthony Davis. I'm saying that it will be Anthony Davis or one of those free agents. So I don't think he is as despondent about the Lakers' hopes as a lot of people are, but most notably because he believes in himself. And thinks what happened last year is I got hurt for the first time ever, and guess what the Lakers get back next season? He believes this. The best player in basketball. Even if other people don't believe that anymore. And how far can that take us with the right coach and the right player? Maybe it's foolish optimism, but I think that is where that mindset in that video is coming from.
Well, I will say this. He didn't expect this level of dysfunction because think about 2.5 years ago. Jim Buss was running the Lakers.
Yes.
Jeannie Buss was saying, look, if this thing doesn't work out, I'm going to take over, right? So she did. Mitch Kupchak was gone. Her brother was gone. Mm-hmm. They got themselves out of that salary cap hell. They opened themselves up for LeBron. They made a lot of shrewd moves to open up space to get LeBron. And then once they got him, it was almost like they made every move after that was like, wait a minute, that's not the right move. You know, you see Brook Lopez in Milwaukee being the perfect stretch five that LeBron would crave to have. All these other dominoes that have fallen. To me, Nick, as much as that's blind faith, there's no way that he can be happy. He wasn't happy in Miami, and they were winning championships. So I don't think happy is a state of mind for LeBron. I just think it's a notion that that's out there and that he's hopeful, like you said, because he's the best player in basketball. But I don't think it's blind faith at this point.
Also, keep in mind, it's not one thing they have to do. I mean, they can't put all their eggs in, oh, let's get a free agent. That's our big. There are a lot of things that this team needs to do this offseason, and you can't put 100% of your focus on making sure you hit home runs on every single one. It just feels like they're so overwhelmed by everything that LeBron has to be affected
I guess
by
I
it.
feel like they only need to hit one home run. And then everyone will calm down.
Is it the free agent?
Yeah,
or coach?
the free agent. If they get not. I know you think Kimba's doesn't classify. If they get one of the top free agents, Kawhi, Kyrie, one of those guys,
they still need shooting.
What? Of course, no. It's not the only job they have, but everything will be calm.
And my problem, it's not going to be calm because the same guy that picked the other players is picking these players. The same philosophy they came up with. What's the difference in philosophy?
Well, they're
going to listen to Ty Lue?
Well, I guess my question is, do we know if it was Magic's philosophy or Pelinka's philosophy? I don't know that. I don't know.
I mean, which one do you trust more? Like, neither one of them has been proven. Rob Pelinka has been there when they have selected these players. Rob Pelinka has been there when these younger players have not developed. He's still in the building. Magic's gone. We can't blame Magic for anything. So Pelinka has been there. So why would I believe that they would understand the analytics that are going on in the league? Just like Utah, to be able to make this a series, they understood the analytics as far as shooting a three, forcing people to shoot two. Who in the Lakers is going to do that?
All right, not
so
Kurt
you can
Rambis.
have blind faith, because that's all we could be going on right now.
All right, got to take a break. Vincent, we'll see you later on in the show. Coming up, Big Ben got a new deal, but is his Super Bowl window already closing? That's next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, former head coach Eric Mangini joins us. I'm pointing at you because you're sitting there.
Nice
Good to see you. Hey, thanks.
Very handsome man there.
Do what I can.
Man, boy, coach.
Coach.
Boy, coach.
What?
Coach.
Coach just looks good today.
I do some modeling.
It's draft day. He's got his best foot forward.
Okay.
I agree, Coach.
When's Fashion Week?
Here we go. Ben Roethlisberger had a good day at the office yesterday, signed a 2-year extension, $68 million, including a $37 million signing bonus. That'll make him the quarterback of the Steelers till he's 40. He said in a statement, "It has always been a goal to play my entire career in Pittsburgh. This is home for me and my family, and we love this city. I'm as excited to be a Steeler in year 16 as I was when they drafted me. They will get my absolute best." It's important to note no players or coaches were thrown under the bus in the making of that statement. Coach, how much longer is the Super Bowl window open for the Steelers at this point?
Their window is open as long as he's there. And when you look at his production over time versus a guy like Tom Brady, there's a ton of similarities in terms of completion percentage, touchdown percentage. Now he's a little bit higher in sack percentage and interceptions, but he extends plays. He does some things that are very different. And he is a force multiplier. He is a guy that is able to take draft picks that are lower draft picks and turn them into stars. And we saw that to some degree with James Conner. You saw that with Juju Schuster-Smith. You've seen that over the course of his career. And I like the fact that Tomlin's there as well, that continuity. As long as you've got continuity with a franchise quarterback, a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, every year you have a chance. They made some improvements defensively. There's still a little bit of a ways to go there, but they're in a position to compete every single year he's there.
And I respect how Ben has built his career. Watching Ben was not a highly recruited high school football player coming out of Ohio, only started 1 year. He was at a high school where the coach preferred to play his son over Ben Roethlisberger, so Ben played wide receiver. So when he came into the league, there was a lot of teams that had missed on him. Big, strong, very, very good athlete. Was on a dominant defensive team and a running team when he came into the league, supported by the coach and the organization. It's kind of like great players that we see at lower levels, that being Ben Simmons and a guy like Zion, guys who we say, oh, man, they're really talented. But will they ever be able to shoot the basketball? Those are both questions. Man, Ben learned how to shoot the basketball. Because as far as a big Josh Allen-type thrower, man, Ben developed a touch. Ben is nimble in the pocket. He stays healthy. Man, he competes at his highest level. So he was able to add all these other things that you say, oh, man, my guy's got to be able to get better. Ben worked on his game and got himself better. So he's been one of the best quarterbacks in this era. That's why he's won a couple Super Bowls. So as Coach would say, if you got a guy like that, and if you can support him, oh, you got a chance. If you get into the tournament as a wild card team, this is not the NBA where you got to win a series. No. You got one game, typically on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and if you got a guy like that who's special, you got an opportunity, a chance to pull the upset.
I think that's the key, what you said right there, because with the talent that has walked out the door, with Big Ben still being a great player, but not, I don't believe, one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league anymore, I think the Steelers, current iteration of the Steelers, are done contending for the #1 seed in the AFC. I don't think that you can look at them and say, I really think they can go 13-3, which is usually about what it takes. But if you are constantly in the playoffs, you are constantly a contender. And the Steelers are it was an outlier year last year that they missed the playoffs. They haven't had a losing season since Tomlin's been there, and Ben's been there, obviously, that entire time. So as critical as I can be of Ben as a leader or as a teammate, he's clearly one of the 8 best quarterbacks in football. If you have that, plus a good coach and a good organization, you are going to be a contender as long as that guy's there. So I totally agree with the first point you made, even if you might disagree with some things I just said, that they are, why do you extend Ben Roethlisberger? Because you are going to be a beginning of the opening Vegas odds standings, like most likely to win the Super Bowl. You're going to be one of the first 6 or 7 teams listed every year as your quarterback.
And the Steelers have lost talent. Similar to New England, there's been a lot of good Steelers players that have moved on to other places. And as an organization, they've overcome that. And that's what Ben gives you a chance to do. What I'm excited to see is, and I talk about this a lot, the difference between the families, but they seem to be moving towards more of a less volatile approach to the locker room. How is that going to affect the group? That, to me, is the most interesting part of this offseason and going into next season.
But the reason that I agree with you in that regard, but the reason that I said not really in contention in my mind for that top seed in the AFC is How long has it been since they were the top seed in the AFC? Even with all that talent. A couple years ago, they lost the game to New England, the Jesse James game. That cost them the #1 seed. They haven't had where home field went through Pittsburgh, I believe, in a decade. So one of the reasons New England is able to go to 15 AFC championship games, 14 AFC championship games, is they're almost always only playing 2 playoff games, with most of those playoff games going through New England.
Yeah, the early favorite probably is New England and Kansas City to be home, to have home field advantage. But let me tell you who the teams don't want to see. They don't want to see Ben Roethlisberger and whoever he's going to bring there, because he has that type of experience. Andrew Luck's another guy. They don't want to be able to see these guys. So when you have that type of talent, and I would be hard-pressed. I know you're into lists, Nick. I would be hard-pressed to say that there's 7 quarterbacks that are better than Ben Roethlisberger. Because to me, we have a couple quarterbacks at the top, and then we have 4 or 5 of them that, to me, they're very, very similar, depending on how you like your ice cream. So I don't see that many quarterbacks better than Ben. I see 2 or 3 that are better than Ben, and Ben is as good as the rest of the
Am I the only one that's concerned that he lost 2 of the best skill players in the league right now? And for the first time in his career, he's going to be the guy. I mean, you talk about being a force multiplier, and you talk about the fact that, yeah, the drama's gone, but so are 2 of the best players as well.
Yeah, and then you insert James Conner, and he averages 4.5 yards a carry and 12 touchdowns. Juju Schuster-Smith has 111 catches. And that's what a guy like that does. You've got to play different defensively to deal with him, so it opens up things in the running game. Receivers that are willing to work and willing to do the things that are part of the system have an opportunity to go from good to great because of his ability.
They did lose 2 of their top 3 players on the team, but Ben is the best player.
Yeah.
All right. Ben has had the best career. Ben has been the most consistent. AB can't do what he did without Ben. They will miss AB's big playability against double teams, where him and Ben had that trust agreement that they still used to be able to get big plays, even though they were trying to take him out of the game.
And they missed the playoffs last year.
And missed the playoffs last year. Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Russell Wilson,
of course.
Patrick Mahomes,
Couldn't
Andrew
help
Luck.
yourself.
Those would be the 6 I would say are
to.
clearly better.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.